All right. Excuse me, Dante dog. What's up, y'all? My name is Evan Strong. Wow. Clothing's effect on the sinuses. Yes. My name is Evan Strong. I am the founder of InTheImageClothingCompany. InTheImageClothingCompany. What do we do? Why are we a clothing company? Well, clothing is the only thing physically placed on our bodies, okay? Clothing company for the sake of allowing the body to work. That's our slogan here under In The Image Clothing Company's main side. One of our fourths to In The Image Clothing Company. So, as I said, clothing's effect on the sinuses. This video's title, the 7th of April, 2026. Here's the thing. Clothing is just a literal word for anything physically placed onto something else. Okay, God clothes the fields with grass. We clothe our bodies with man-made things. The human being is designed in the image of God. So here you go. In the Image Clothing Company. Being designed in the image of Jesus Christ. He had to first look like us to even word it as designing us in his image. There's a universal human design. There truly is only one way the human body could ever work. I don't have an opinion on it that could ever possibly matter to anyone because I'm the same as everyone else, right? But yeah, the bones are just the shape and length that they are in the body. The muscles are just the shape and length that they are in the body. And the body just does what it does, and that's it. Okay? It's impossible, truly, to train the human body to get it to do anything lasting. It doesn't matter. You can gain all the muscle mass, the musculature size, or musculature strength, even through the airplane noise and the wind noise, that you possibly want, but it always goes away. There's a normal. The human body's only normal, if you will. We discuss it under In The Image Clothing Company often, okay? The normal. Resting heart rate for the body, the amount the heart beats per minute, the normal respiratory rate, okay? The amount the body breathes per minute. The normal fat content versus muscle mass to have a healthy balance. The normal temperature to the body, 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit. Natural, neutral, and normal are synonyms within the human body, okay? And it's functioning. The body has neutral positions. It's just like this. The hands just tracking in line. We can go up with the wrist or down with the wrist, but only from the neutral. We can stand vertical on Earth's vertical gravity pull, okay? Or we can lean left only from the neutral by pulling muscles on our left side. We can lean right only from the neutral by pulling muscles on our right side. We can lean forward only from the neutral by pulling muscles on the front of the body. Really, I mean, there's a lot more to it than this, but we can lean backward, okay, as well, only by pulling muscles and only from the neutral, okay? The surface of the planet Earth is horizontal, and then gravity has this vertical pull. This is a perpendicular angle, a 90-degree right angle. The human body is just mechanics, okay? A video here under In The Image Clothing Company's main side. The human body is just hinges, levers, and rotations just to allow functionality in this mechanical machine we've been given by God that is placed onto this rock in space we call Earth, okay? There's only one way the human body could ever work. Yeah, listen to this, okay? The human body only pulls. A video's title under In The Image Clothing Company's main side here. We pull muscles to close a hinge, like the elbow, but we have opposing muscles. On the opposite side, they pull as well to extend a hinge. So we don't push as human beings. We can't possibly do that. Muscles working is only them pulling together. It's an electrical system coming from the brain, sent through the entire body, telling the muscle fibers to fire, and they come together, okay? Contraction of muscles with opposing muscles to pull to close or pull to extend. Muscles only pull. Now this is a big point, just no matter what, that's all the body can do, okay? But for this video's title, Clothing's Effect on the Sinuses, when we're talking about sinuses, what I mean is your head, okay? The physical skull of the human being, like breathing through the nose, mucus in the nasal cavity area, okay? We'll talk about this to the degree that we talk about it in this video here on the 7th of April, 2026, okay? In The Image Clothing Company's main side, clothing's effect on the sinuses. Well, the big thing with why it's a big point to see, just always, but especially in this video, that the human body only pulls with the musculature, connecting to the bones of the body through tendons, Yeah, the muscles only pull and just directly in line where they're connected to what they're pulling on, which is the bones of the body, okay? Bones connect directly to each other through ligaments. The wind blows, and often you can hear that effect it has on the microphone, not the videos, so I understand, right? I get it. Okay, so yeah, bones connect directly to each other through ligaments. Bones just being just the shape that they are on the ends of them, okay, they have to track in line, even through the surrounding sounds. All right, if bones don't track in line, they wear each other out. There's a thin layer of cushioning between the bones called cartilage, and this cushioning can't be worn out. Otherwise, now we have bone against bone without cushion between them, and then maybe you have the bone wearing the other bone out. All right, the point is, everything in the body does have a neutral position. The shoulder is the top end of the elbow. The elbow is the bottom end of the shoulder. Okay, this upper arm bone, the humerus, it's between the shoulder and the elbow. Keeping elbows at the natural waist is a video here under In The Image Clothing Company's main side. And that's where our elbows rest, just always in their neutral. Okay, at the natural waist, above the hip bones, but below those lowest ribs. This is where our pants sit, okay, and slightly higher in the front than the rear, just to do what we can to ensure the pants don't fall lower in the front, because we already just hip hinge forward and bend lower in the front or anterior with the pelvis's rotation from its neutral. Tucking underneath us, the pelvis goes posterior, rotating away from us in the ways that we just bend already forward. The hips go anterior. So there you go. That's where our pants sit, okay? And that's where our elbows sit, at the natural waist, just so the body can continue to work. We are In The Image Clothing Company. The thing is, clothing being the only thing physically placed on us has a high potential to alter our bodies, okay? We get into chronic patterning. Scar tissue in the body builds up and bone spurs over years, decades, maybe almost an entire lifetime of things like these, and any combination of these or anything like this at all. Oversized clothing, okay? When we have joints of material of clothing needing to mesh with the joints of our body parts, okay? Imbalances of any kind in clothing, we're talking about collar seams, rotated seams, pockets, zippers, buttons, anything, okay, just discrepant or different, any part of clothing anywhere that's different from any other part of the clothing anywhere on the human body. There's just two sides to the body with a center line, okay? And because of this, things like ropes introduced to the body, shoelaces or drawstrings, these things will twist the entire body if we tie one side over the other in a knot. We rotate our entire bodies. Our bodies have their own rotations, and so within our clothing, the clothing has to be just not rotating our bodies, so our body's rotations can reside in their own neutrals and then have internal or external rotation from there. In the forearms, in the entire arm, in the lower legs, and the entire leg. And we discuss this in depth because this is what we do. We're only a clothing company for the sake of allowing the body to work. It's about the human body. So we discuss the anatomy of the human body in depth under In The Image Clothing Company. We give a lot of free modifications in clothing. In The Image Clothing Company's dreaded collar seam modification, In The Image Clothing Company's rotated seam modification, In The Image Clothing Company's pant zipper modification, and many more where we have them. But the point is, things like robots, okay? We've got robots that stitch our clothing in modern day. We didn't have this happen in the past before we invented robots, okay? We filmed a video yesterday titled Physically Weak People, and placed it here under In The Image Clothing Company's main side because there's a lot of things that are inventions of human beings that are causing us to be physically weak people, weaker in our own individual situations than we'd naturally be because of how the world has changed, right? We live in this modern man-made world placed onto God's natural earth, and a lot of things are damaging our bodies. And so, anyway, robots stitching clothing, you know, they'll rotate the seams, clothing going down a conveyor belt with this way that things are done nowadays, you know, seriously. Yeah, clothing just always used to be stitched by hand by mankind, and now the robots are doing it. Seriously, which is crazy, you know? But yeah, so things are damaging our bodies, right? The only thing physically placed on us, gravity. It's got the same effect on our clothing that it has on our bodies. So our bodies do have a center line. The sternum, the spine, the trachea, the nose, and our jaw. The jaw naturally stabilizing the entire body. Yeah, we've got musculature coming up to the crown of the head, down to some of these upper ribs, out to the corner of the shoulders. Musculature from the jaw goes through the collar of our tops, okay? Keeping collars centered, and the importance of snug collars. Okay, a couple videos that are huge focuses under In The Image Clothing Company's main site here, but yeah, just in general daily life, it's just something you have to focus on and realize. Just like keeping elbows at the natural waist. The reason why we keep our elbows at the natural waist is because that's the neutral position for our bodies to reside in. All right, In The Image Clothing Company poodles, we're getting to the sinuses. We are, okay, but context, and a third. Context, okay, is a big importance in life. So yeah, another fourth of us in The Image Clothing Company poodles, we specialize in purebred standard poodles, but we give information that applies to all dogs, and even any animal across the earth that it would, on letting dogs stay natural. It's the same thing we do for human beings here on In The Image Clothing Company's main side. So yeah, I mean, collars, leashes, harnesses, slip leads, bandanas, whatever you place onto a dog is just the literal word of clothing the dog with something, the way that we clothe our bodies, you know. So keeping collars centered and the importance of snug collars, the same for the dogs, you know, and things like this too, and we get into it in depth because we discuss everything that we do as a human being or as a dog, but we're just doing all of these things in and through what's physically placed on us, the literal word of clothing, okay? Our bodies with something. So eating, sleeping, breathing, standing, walking, sitting, hydration, but sinuses in this video, right? Everything we do, yeah, we just discuss how to do what our slogan is, allowing the body to work. Because the thing is, God designed the body to work, and it just would. Within our own individualistic situations, within this universal human design, if you're different a little bit, cool, you know. We are where we are, man. Amputation, deformity, birth defect, major surgery, anything like this, or not even like this at all, but that sets your body apart a little bit, or even quite a bit, you can only be set apart from something, which is the universal human design. So truly, because of things like breathing and taking the entire body to stabilize in every breath we take, to a degree, it does, yeah. And just Earth's vertical gravity pull meshing with the center line of our bodies, okay. We have to do all that we can to get as close to the universal human design as we can with our body's physical mechanical workings, okay, in our own individualistic situations. So that's really what we do here under In The Image Clothing Company, is get out of chronic patterning. And I've gone before, you know, and you've been able to see my journey documented and date marked under what I call the gift of video, posted publicly as the founder of In The Image Clothing Company. I'll be doing this my entire lifetime. Okay, my name is Evan Strong, as I said. Seriously though, yeah, this is the point, is that clothing's the only thing physically placed on us. So when we're talking about the sinuses, well, what are the sinuses? Similar to what the digestive system of the human being is. Similar to what, yeah, the lungs are, the respiratory system with us breathing through the trachea, you know, eating through the esophagus. These are tubes, is the point. That's the point. It's similar, you know, the tubes in the body, even the circulatory system, the blood pumping through the body, these are tubes of the body. So watch this. It's impossible to train posture, truly. The body has even mathematical opposing bends. Remember, the video's title, under In The Image Clothing Company's main side, the human body is just mechanics. Hinges, levers, rotations, operation in measurable mathematical degrees. Truly, there's only one way the human body could ever work, because the bones will never cease to be the shape and length that they are, naturally at least, right? So yeah, Earth's vertical gravity pull, the body has even opposing bends back and forth to just stay vertical, okay? Starting at the bottom, the horizontal surface of the earth, the term zero drop in any brand of shoe, just flat, as if we're barefooted, okay? Because the feet have the ability to point down, plantar flexion, but they have the ability as well to lift up. Dorsiflexion. But the neutral is the surface of the earth. Okay. Wow. Heels on man-made shoes. God made feet within man-made shoes. That doesn't work if we're not intentional. But you don't know what you don't know, and you can't be held accountable for what you don't know. So that's where In the Image Clothing Company comes in. Really, we're giving a lot of free information. That's a big part of what we always are, have been, and will be, is, well, especially through video, the gift of video. Yeah, seriously, okay? We'll always have good clothing, right? Staying centered, fitting correct, and being made in all the ways we can from 100% natural materials, dog products as well, and whatever else we branch out into product-wise. But that's not the focus, is, you know, selling products. It's about allowing the body to work. And so, anyway, In the Image Clothing Company, here's the thing. We're moving to St. George, Utah this month, April 2026. But watch this. Backwards is how the ankles bend. The knees bend forward, the hips bend backward, the low back bends forward, the mid back bends backward, the upper back, which is just the neck, it's the cervical spine, it bends forward, okay? It's literally evenly opposing each other, like mathematically, you can measure it, back and forth and back and forth. And then we're gonna go back once more and then finish off going forth, because Earth's gravity pull is vertical. Okay, vertical, yeah, standing vertical. Yeah, there's only one way it happens, is the point. There's no way to possibly train posture. But this is some good context to see if we're talking about the sinuses, really, because they're tubes in the throat. That's the thing, you know, the sinuses, the ears, just a hole, yeah, right behind the lower jawbone called the mandible. We've got this hole in our head, an ear on either side of the body, okay? Seriously, yeah, shoot. Got a lot of videos talking about the ears under In the Image Clothing Company's main side. Remember, clothing is the literal wording of anything placed onto something else. The importance of not pushing or pulling on the ears, the importance of even ears, the importance, well, no, the proper, the natural earlobe position. Videos like this are videos under In the Image Clothing Company's main side about the ears, because as the jaw is the shoulder, which is another video's title under In the Image Clothing Company's main side here, the jaw is the shoulder, being directly connected, anything the shoulder does, it directly affects the jaw because they're directly connected through musculature. The ears essentially are the jaw as well, because right behind this lower jawbone, starting at the front of our ears here, coming down and then forward, and it becomes our chin, right? It's where our lower teeth are connected into. It's that bone down there. It's called the mandible. Right behind this is the whole of the ear that just allows us to receive sound waves, okay? And then we can hear things. It's the sense of hearing, okay? Man. Yeah, so glasses or anything placed onto or potentially into, which should never be done, the ears, okay? And I did for years. We don't know what we don't know, but once you know, you got to do something about it if it's going to be changed, okay? So yeah, sinuses, they're the ears connecting into the nose, connecting down into the mouth, and connecting down into the throat, tubes of the body, okay? Just like the blood pumps through the whole body through tubes, veins and arteries and capillaries. These are tubes for the blood to flow through the body, okay? What is hydration, okay? A video under In the Image Clothing Company's main side. We talk about hydration a lot because there's a lot of myths behind hydration and what it means to stay hydrated. But, you know, let me give a little brief explanation here. Here comes the wind, okay? Rehydrating the body is putting water back into the body. Hydration is just the normal amount of water in the body, and then dehydration is just water coming out of the body. So it's just a cycle. We rehydrate, then we're hydrated, then it gets dehydrated, and then we rehydrate, and then we're hydrated. It's just the normal amount of water in the body. There's such thing, and certainly, definitely, as too much water in the body, okay? That can be just as damaging and in different ways, than just too little of water in the body, okay? So anyway, hydration is a big point because the sinuses, they need to be lubricated. We've got mucus, okay? Yikes. Big video. Mucus, you know, it lubricates things. It's slippery. You know, when you blow your nose, right? Blowing the nose centered is a huge point. We've got videos about the nose as well. Yikes. Under In The Image Clothing Company's main side before today's date, the 7th of April, 2026. Clothing's effect on the sinuses, okay? But this is the thing. Ah, shoot. It's just so real. It's so real. You know, the importance of even nostrils. And yeah, any videos you can find on blowing the nose, there is one as of today's date under In The Image Clothing Company's main site. I just don't know exactly what I titled it. As the founder, my name is Evan Strong. But here's the thing, you know, we need to blow our nose nice and centered, nice and vertical, just looking straight forward with the neutral head position. A video's title under In The Image Clothing Company's main side. But this all starts at the feet. And then up through the knees and the hips and the spine, through the shoulders, through the jaw, stabilizing the entire body, up to the head, really through the hands as well, because the hand is the shoulder. When we lock it out at the elbow between the two, the hand and shoulder do the exact same thing. Just like if we lock the foot out at the knee by, well, no. If we lock the foot out from the hip by straightening the knee between the two, they'll do the exact same thing, like the hand to the shoulder, okay? Rotation-wise and just everywhere they go, the other one goes either end. From hip to foot or shoulder to hand. The wind noise, okay. An episode title of In The Image Clothing Company podcast, all right? The wind noise. A lot of times it's just, you know, surrounding sounds in the videos, if and where, because they're there, if they're there. But also just, you know, metaphorically, people just kind of talking about you behind your back. Or, you know, whatever, having all their opinions about what they think you're doing and they're wrong about it. It's kind of just wind noise, you know, stuff you kind of just have to not care about. Just let it be because it's there if it's there. The thing is, In The Image Clothing Company podcast, we have discussions on the gospel of Jesus Christ. You don't have to be religious in the slightest bit for truth to be truth. Truth is always truth. Life is just life. The thing is, we're all human beings, placed on the same earth. We're designed by the same God. We're just the same thing, okay? Episode 204 is what we're on as of today's date, the 7th of April, 2026, of In The Image Clothing Company podcast. But we just have deep insights on life, okay? This is the thing, though, is, yeah, before we can ever address the sinuses, we need to understand what's going on. We need to have unaltered ears. So placing things like glasses on top of ears, again, potentially anything in or on ears, you just be very intentional. Really never put anything in your ears. But placing things onto your ears, there's times and places where that's very beneficial, especially in our modern man-made world, you know, to muffle sound and things like this, to protect our eardrums, our ability to hear sound. But, you know, just being very careful with the ears is a big point. And, you know, the sinuses, yeah, they're just connecting these three things, really. The nose, the ears, and the mouth. Okay? Ears, nose, and throat, if you will. That's a doctor. Like, that's a profession. I really do think they call it an ENT, an ear, nose, and throat doctor, like a sinus doctor. Anyway, I'm just saying because it's its own function of the entire body, the sinuses, okay? So how clothing affects the sinuses? Well, let's title it like this. Clothing's effect on the sinuses. On the 7th of April, 2026. Under In The Image Clothing Company's main side, spoken by me, Evan Strong, the founder. To give some context going forth, you know, because this is the thing. These are just tubes and they just have to stay open. You know, we talk about the tubes of the bloodstream of the body and they just need to be able to circulate blood through our bodies. Well, there's a video, yeah, that I filmed. It's under In The Image Clothing Company's main site currently, at least, titled something like How Clothing Affects Circulation, How Clothing Affects Blood Circulation. Anyway, we don't want to be restricting the flow of things in the body, like the flow of our breath, seriously, and the flow of our blood, and the flow of these tubes of the sinuses, the flow of the digestive system of the body. These things just have to work naturally. The goal is natural on all four sides of In The Image Clothing Company. As I said earlier, natural, neutral, and normal are synonyms within the functioning of the body. Well, here's the thing. Matter cannot be created or destroyed, okay? We only have the amount of things that we've always had. God designed the earth. He then designed the human being and placed it onto the earth. But here's the way the human being gets made. We're only what we eat, literally. We eat earth, whether you eat plants that grew from the earth or you eat animals that ate plants that grew from the earth. Our bodies, the human being, is literally just earth. That's how it exists. That's what it is. When we die, we decompose back to the earth, okay? So the goal is natural because of all the reasons it has to be. Natural is the only thing that actually exists, truly, all opinions aside. We try to keep all opinions aside here under In The Image Clothing Company. The thing is, I say very clearly, as the founder of In The Image Clothing Company, me, Evan Strong, don't believe me, okay? Don't believe In The Image Clothing Company's information coming from any of our team members or even any of our poodles, because truth is truth. And so no matter who says what, spoken or unspoken, truth is always still truth. And so we can discuss it, but we're imperfect human beings that rely on a perfect God, okay? Jesus the Christ. So here's the thing. Oh, shoot. Fun stuff. Jesus Christ is God is an episode title of In The Image Clothing Company podcast. But remember what I just said. Don't believe me. Let's find the truth in life, though, okay? Here comes the wind. Yikes. All right. See what I mean? Do you see what I mean? If not, well... I've been given eyes to see by someone who is not me, truly, okay? His name is Jesus Christ. I'm not joking about these things, so watch this occur, okay? Just kind of waiting for the wind noise to maybe be not quite as loud as it was there for a bit. The sinuses of the body, they're just tubes, okay? And these tubes of the body just have to continue to flow, continue to connect each other. The ears to the nose and the mouth, okay? The ENT, wow. Yes, okay? And these things only work how they do. What I'm saying is the body's even mathematical opposing bends from bottom to top to stay vertical on Earth's gravity. They can't change. They don't change. They won't change. Otherwise, we just fall over. Or our bodies are in a constant state of compensation. Because the human body only works activated as a whole. Everything in the body is there with a role to play, but it's got its own individual role. It's got its own function that's different than everything else in the body. And so compensation, or something trying to make up for the role that something else should be doing, but maybe it's not working properly, this can't actually happen in the body because they're doing different things, just everything that's there in the body. And so, yeah, the human body only works activated as a whole, even through all the wind noise. It's so crazy. I love it. It's another Datemark's documentation, though, of truth. If it's true, it's not my choice. I don't get to decide or change truth. None of us do as human beings. We didn't design our bodies. They breathe for themselves. They heal themselves when they get cut. The heart beats for itself. The lungs breathe for themselves. Right? The eyes are just blinking all the time that they are. Even unconsciously asleep, you're still breathing, and you're not doing that. I'm not doing it for my body. God is orchestrating everything. He's just doing everything, even if we don't know about it. Even if you don't want to believe it. Well, it's still happening. You can believe it's not, but it is. If you're alive, truth is truth. It's not our choices, okay? As human beings. Dante is just comfortably sleeping, man. So here's the thing. The body has to stay vertical. We've got tubes in the body, okay? So we're breathing through this tube in our throat, the trachea. And the even mathematical opposing bends in the body, if we stand nice and vertically, this tube is open. If we're hunched over, the tube is not just a straight tube that you can breathe through properly. If we're drinking things or eating things and it's going down our esophagus, right? The tube to get the food from our mouth down to our digestive system and our abdomen and then passing through our body, right? Out the rectum or urination, okay, when the body's done using the food and liquid for what it needs to, okay? There's an airplane flying up there. It's making noise. Yeah, if these tubes just aren't in an open position, then they're just not going to work properly. because they'll be almost kinked off, you know. If you have a tube or a hose that you could flow water through, and the water's flowing through it, but then you bend the tube in half, and you kink off the hose, the flow can't happen, okay? This is what I'm saying with the tubes of the body. Circulation with the blood system. Well, yeah, I mean, there's a lot more in this video than just the sinuses as far as information, which is great, yeah. But the sinuses, right? Breathing, and just all the things we could say in the body that are tubes, the digestive system as well, you know. These tubes just need to be open. We can't kink the tubes off or close the tubes off and then have the function still happen of the sinuses in this video, specifically. The 7th of April, 2026, in the Image Clothing Company's main side, clothing's effect on the sinuses. So this is what I'm saying is these tubes have to be in their open position, and clothing is just the literal word of anything physically placed onto the body, okay? Anything physically placed onto anything, but in this case of In the Image Clothing Company, we are about the human body, which is designed in the image of God. We're a clothing company, just to do what we do here, allow the body to work. So if we're not standing vertically, our sinuses just won't be open, okay? And what'll happen is if the sinuses aren't open and just able to flow the way they're naturally supposed to, God designed the body to work, okay? Then things will kink off. Things won't work properly. The mucus, this lubricator, it's where it is in the body. You know, it's certainly in the sinuses. Like that stuff you blow out of your nose. That's what I was saying earlier. You blow your nose and that stuff that comes out, it's this gooey, almost sticky, elastic in a way, clear-ish substance, okay? Mucus. It lubricates the sinuses, you know. Mucus does things in the body. There's mucus all throughout the body where there is, to play the functions it does. And really, that's a big point of what it is a lubricator. Now, the big reason why what hydration is such a big point with this video is because hydration, the amount of water in the body, determines how fluid the body is. Water is literally fluid, and how well something can move is how fluid it is, all right? Literal wording. Yeah. If we have too much water in our bodies, this mucus that's supposed to be in our sinuses, and it's supposed to stay in there to a degree, it's supposed to be there, right? If we have too much water there, the mucus will be too runny or too thin, and it won't have this almost gooey, elastic type texture to it. You know, mucus really should be just at the proper texture, okay? Which really what that is just the proper amount of hydration of the body. If you're drinking too much water, your body is being dehydrated because the body just has to be able to retain water in it. Again, just the proper amount of water in the body. Too much is damaging. Too little can be damaging. On either end, we got to be somewhere right in the middle of just the proper amount of water in the body at a time. Okay. So if you have too much water in your body, everything's just going to be excessively running out of your body. The sinuses, okay, are one of these things. The mucus should be in the sinus cavities, okay, in the ears and the nose and in the throat. These areas of the body have mucus in them, and it should be able to stay there while still being able to be fluid enough to do what it needs to do. If we are dehydrated and we don't have enough water in our bodies, the mucus will not flow as well as it needs to. And then it'll be stuck and not be able to lubricate the sinuses properly. If we have too much water in our bodies, the mucus will just be too liquid, too fluid, and it'll just flow out of our bodies. But this comes in multiple ways. Because the ears, the nose, and the throat, which is the back of the mouth opening, okay, are all connected. If we have mucus up in our sinuses, it can run out of our nose, right? A runny nose, if you will. We know what this is if we do. I do, okay? But if you do, yeah, right? Your nose is running or dripping. This can be just because you're too, and hear this correct, too hydrated. There's such thing as being too hydrated. Hydration isn't some like never-ending thing you can keep putting water into your body and you'll help your body. No, Hydration is just the proper amount. You can be overly hydrated or underhydrated, okay? There's just the proper amount of water in the body is a balance. The proper amount of fat content versus muscle mass in the body is like the proper amount of food versus water in the body, okay? Water is a lubricator and food is fuel, okay? Yeah. Shoot, man. Truth is truth, man. So the sinuses. Oh my gosh. This is crazy. If you've got too much water in your body, this can be one of the reasons your sinuses might drip or run. Why do you have too much water in your body? We discuss so often how clothing affects our ability to stay hydrated. Our abilities to just be in tune with our bodies, to know what it means to have the proper amount of water in our bodies, because things like stretch in clothing, even through the airplane noise, okay? Stretch is one of those things that didn't even exist in clothing until tens of years ago from today's date, the 7th of April, 2026. In the Image Clothing Company's main side, clothing's effect on the sinuses. Yeah, so the muscles, which we established at the beginning of this video, only pull. We have opposing muscles. We pull to close, or we pull to extend. We pull to lift up, or we pull to lift down, if you will, okay? We pull down or pull up with things like the wrist, for example, or even the ankle, and the lever of the foot from the hinge of the ankle, right? We pull down or we pull up. Even jumping up off the ground, we're pulling muscles. We pull our foot down, and we go up off the earth. That's how it works, truly. All right, this is what I mean. We have to understand how the body works. We've got a video here under In the Image Clothing Company's main side titled Anatomy Understanding versus Fitness Advice. We don't need any advice, ever, really, in life. We just need an understanding of what life is. Life's only what it is. The human being is only what it is. Let's understand it. Because we can. And it only does what it does, and that's it, ever. It's a body we didn't design, and it grew for itself. God gave it to us. It's the only thing that we have. An episode title of In the Image Clothing Company podcast, okay? The only thing that we have are human bodies. Everything comes and goes, only from your body, okay? Once your body goes, your life's done. This physical life here on earth in this state and time, okay? We got to take care of our bodies. And so we've got to know what it means to stay hydrated. And a lot of times things like stretch and clothing will cause our bodies to be dehydrated. Our bodies will overly stretch or overly sweat. Wow, yeah. Because stretch goes the opposite direction of the only way the muscles work. The only way the body works is the muscles, which are connecting to the skeletal frame of the body, pull to stabilize and then move the skeletal system, the bones of the body. And so stretch goes the opposite direction of the body functioning. So if you're within stretchy clothing, which is just new, tens of years ago from today's date, the 7th of April, 2026, you'll almost certainly be just about constantly dehydrated. No matter how much water you drink, too. And then you'll drink more and more and more and more, but it'll keep coming out, keep coming out, keep coming out. And as it does, it'll flush out the essential electrolytes and minerals and just things in your body that are allowing your body to retain and hold on to the proper amount of hydration or water, okay? Content in your body. Water content. That's what hydration is the proper amount of water in the body. We discussed this clearly and thoroughly under In the Image Clothing Company. We've got a lot of things, too, in modern day that are just different, you know. The way that our bodies work can't very well in this modern man-made world, you know. Things are just so different nowadays. Water's processed, it's purified, and sure, that's great to get things that are potentially damaging out of anything you're going to put into your body, but, you know, naturally there's sediment and minerals, electrolytes, and things, just, you know, what's in the sand and dirt. This stuff is just good, actually, for the body. It's what helps the body hold on to water and use the water for what the body uses water for, because the body doesn't extract anything from water. A water molecule is literally just hydrogen and oxygen. Okay, there's nothing the body can take from it. The body just uses water for functioning. So that's what I'm saying. One of these functions is lubrication of the mucus. Okay, lubrication in all ways the body can lubricate through having water in it. But yeah, mucus, it just needs to be the proper level of dry versus wet. We can say that. You see what I mean? There's a proper substance to mucus. There's a proper texture to mucus. There's a proper amount that it flows versus it being able to be retained in the sinuses without just running out of our nose, but also running it down our throat, okay? Ears, nose, and throat, the sinuses of the human being, okay? Same for the dogs, really, as well, you know? In the Image Clothing Company poodles. Dante's an awesome dog. Dante's the rescue from the South Utah Valley Animal Shelter, okay? The first of many standard poodles under In the Image Clothing Company poodles. But, yeah, since the ears and the nose are connected to the throat, the mucus that's retained in the sinuses, the skull of the human being, okay, these sinus cavities, these pathways that connect the ears, nose, and throat, the mucus can run down the back of our throat also. So you hear people like doing stuff with their throat, okay, clearing their throat, or just like coughing things up, or yeah, excessively blowing their nose all the time. That's a point too, you know. All of these things like this where mucus just doesn't seem to be staying where it should. You know, it's like, man, people call it post-nasal drip. Post-nasal? Okay. Anterior, posterior, the back of the throat, stuff's dripping down. The body's about a position, okay? It's about the bones. The skeletal system of the human being is all one closed system. A closed system, I say it like that, just meaning it's all connected, okay? Through ligaments, the bones connect, and there you go. The entire body in its structure, the bones, are all just there already. Then we piece muscles onto it, okay? We don't do this, God does, though. The muscles come secondary to the bones, always. The bones are just the shape and length that they are. They don't have motion by themselves. A bone is essentially just an immovable stick until it connects to another bone. Then you've got a joint, joining bones together, okay? And that's how the body moves. And so the muscles always have to be the second focus to the bones. The bones are the first thing. The body's about a position. Earth's gravity, okay? Watch my arms hang down with Earth's gravity. Okay, and I have good posture. When Earth's gravity pulls me into my neutral position, okay? Centered, resting. What? Centered is the resting state? Yes, it is. No opinion to it. The most rested you can be as a human being is the most centered you can be. And you know, anyway, it's not a challenge to be centered, is what I'm saying. We have even opposing musculature from the center line of the body. If we never altered the human being, God designed it to work, you know, just like the animals. They don't do stretching routines or workout routines to try to get their bodies to do something. It's physically impossible. The body is a mechanical machine determined by the shape and length of the bones. It's about a position. Okay, really, truly, there's only one way the human body could ever work. No breakthrough, no new information, no sales pitch, nothing we could take credit for as In the Image Clothing Company, but it's always been the same. Every body has one, and every one has a body. There's a universal human design, designed in the image of God, okay? Patterning, though, we get into patterning, bro and sis, and whoever it is. There's only one way the human body could ever work, okay? Truly. The sinuses. It's about a position, okay? The airplane noise. What it must be like to be a dog. I'm just yelling and he doesn't even flinch. He just sleeps so comfortably in the dirt. All right, yeah, seriously, the sinuses are about a position. So, clothing, the only thing physically placed on us, yeah. We talked about where pants sit, actually, already in this video, but this is the thing, you know, heels on shoes as one of the things. Check this out. You put heels on your man-made shoes onto your God-made feet with their heels that are already just there. The bottom of the feet, right? The bottom of those lower leg bones, really, is the heel of the foot. The feet need to be flat on the ground, okay? The natural bend in the knee and the natural curve in the spine. 2 videos under In the Image Clothing Company's main side here, the thing is, these even mathematical opposing bends of the body, this is how the body's tubes stay in their proper position. The sinuses, for example. When we're standing with what we could call good posture, but just the only way the human being stands vertically on Earth's vertical gravity pole, if it's unaltered, just the way that God designed it to, all the tubes of the sinuses just have an open pathway. If we put heels under our feet on man-made shoes, the body either falls forward, because seriously, we're just putting a wedge underneath our feet from the back. Or if the body doesn't fall forward, it's just got to change the angles of the bends traveling up, but there's still just even mathematical opposing bends, and Earth's vertical gravity pole doesn't change atop the horizontal surface to the Earth. So that's what I mean. The natural bend in the knee and the natural curve in the spine change if you have heels under your shoes. And now the tubes or the pathways or the sinuses are all kinked off or closed off. And you feel it in your throat. Okay, you feel it in your throat. I mean, that's the thing. That's what it does. That's how you make that sound, is by closing off the sinuses. That's really what you do. Wow. You close off the tubes in your throat, you know? And it sounds like that because it's not working properly. You notice I speak well? As the founder of In the Image Clothing Company, I mean, it's a gift I've been given personally by God to put words together well. You know, I'm a musician. We've got In the Image Clothing Company music. I'm going to really discuss this, but let's talk about this first. We do rhythm and poetry, lyricism, spoken word, singing, guitar playing, geared around the gospel of Jesus Christ with the messages over on In the Image Clothing Company music. We show the sizing and setup of guitar to not alter things like the neutral wrist, straight out from the outside of the forearm, down and out the pinky finger is the neutral to the wrist, right? And the rounding to our hands that correlates with the arches in our feet. We can't affect the arches in the feet, or we affect the arches in the hands, and we can't affect the arches in the hands, or it travels to the arches in the feet. The open palm and internal rotation, right? Our hands are round. We've got different length fingers wrapping around our different length opposable thumb. But then we've also got, quote, different length toes, a video's title here under In the Image Clothing Company's main side. Well, I forgot to unquote it, but yeah, the title is different length toes. Okay, there you go. Yeah. Quote, different length toes, unquote. Eccentric. I know, I get it. Yeah, we've got different length 5 toes in the universal human design, at least, and we roll evenly off the ends of our 5 different length toes. All right. That's what I'm saying, you know, is the sinuses are affected by the feet. Because the feet are supporting the entire body, gripping arches inward, opposing the central line of the human being, and keeping us vertical on Earth's vertical gravity pole, even through the airplane noise. Okay. Did I get the part? It's kind of how I feel. I feel like these are production films, you know? Like I'm an actor. It's fun. I really enjoy it. I really, really enjoy it. It's just fun. It's just how I do it, you know? I'm just waiting for the airplane noise to be maybe not quite so noisy for us here, you know? This intimate little time we have together. Me speaking to a cell phone camera. Hi, Dante. I mean, even here, that's what I'm saying. The position my body's in right now, I am still centered, and the tubes in my throat, right? The trachea, where we've got the larynx, your ability to speak, you know, the voice box. There's a video under In the Image Clothing Company's main site here titled Scar Tissue Around the Larynx. Okay, but anyway, that's why you clear your throat, you know. Clothing imbalances, no joke. But I'm saying in this position, I'm still centered. You know, left to right, but also the tubes in my throat are still open. My sinuses are still open, which are part of the tubes of the throat, right? But the trachea and the esophagus. And yeah, my body's still in a centered position because I mechanically adjust healthily, naturally, through my entire body to be able to lean over, and everything's still working properly, just like I'm standing vertical on Earth's gravity, because we have rotations in the body and because we have the ability to move things to accommodate with healthy accommodation rather than unhealthy compensation in the body, okay? Accommodation is like the collarbone coming up and in order to get full internal rotation of the arm. That's the collarbone or clavicle from the top of the sternum. It starts, okay, the center line of the body here in the front. It comes up and out, you know, from the top of the rib cage here and to the edge of the shoulder. This is the collarbone or clavicle. It's the top of the sternum, right below the throat, up and out, and then it's one of the 3 bones of the shoulder on the other end of it. Anyway, the point is, accommodation is natural and healthy in the body. Wow, what in the world is happening? We're changing lives, truly. So, you know, the body, depending on the position you're in, it can accommodate and things can still be open. If I'm standing vertically like this, my throat's open, my sinuses are open, but if I bend over and I just move my shoulders out of the way, my throat's still open, my sinuses are still open, because look at the angle of the tubes in my throat. Everything's still the same. You know, my spine's still the same amount of curvature here as it is here, because my shoulders are moving to accommodate. If I leave my shoulders where they are though, and I just bend over, now it closes off my throat. I mean, that's literally what the sound is that you're hearing. It's my throat being kinked off and closed off. If your shoulders aren't accommodating for these tubes in the throat, and the tubes in the sinuses as well, from the ears to the nose to the throat, I mean, that's what I'm saying, right? It's just tubes. You can't kink them off, or they don't work. They don't flow properly. The body's supposed to flow. The body being a mechanical machine, what that means is a machine of motion. A machine that's designed to move, you know? And if the body can't move, it doesn't work. Even breathing, that's the body, you know, moving, right? Shoot. That's what I'm saying. There's only one way the human body could ever work. Well, the heart pumping blood through the whole body, that's the body moving, okay? Musculature activation. So the body can't be in a state of deactivation in any part of it, where muscles are not working because everything's got its own role to play. Oh my goodness. Gratitude is what I'm experiencing. I'm doing this the rest of my entire lifetime. This is my lifelong career. All right, and so this is just a permanent date marked documentation. On the 7th of April, 2026, under In The Image Clothing Company's main site, this video's title is The Point, and the title is Clothing's Effect on the Sinuses. And so if we don't have our shoulders in a position where the tubes of our throat can be open, and if we don't have our spine in a position where the tubes of our throat can be open, and then the tubes up in the skull too, right? From the ears to the nose, and then down to the throat, the sinuses, they're not gonna work properly. They're either gonna be excessively kinked off, or, you know, maybe, that's the big point, right? Because they're either open or they're not. There's just a position where the things can flow in the body, or they don't flow in the body, you know, and that's just how it works. It's the human body is about a position. And so the shoulders only ever work behind the head. We discussed this so clearly under In The Image Clothing Company. The shoulders, oh my goodness, the shoulders only ever work behind the head, okay? And because of this, now they're just out of the way. The shoulders just connect mechanically behind the body to the base of the rear of the skull and to the spine. And this is where the motion is coming from, is from the back of the body, okay? On the front of the body, we're just pivoting around on this collarbone or the clavicle. But on the back of the body, we have musculature connecting from the spine to the shoulder blades. And that musculature is where the motion of the shoulders really comes from. And it's on the back of the body. We've got a lot of videos discussing this, so I won't put so much focus on that necessarily in this video, but there's some context. Meaning there's just a natural position for the shoulders. The way you can find it is by having your feet flat on the ground and your waistline not altering your hips either. And where's gravity going to pull your fingertips? Well, the hand is the shoulder when locked out at the elbow between the two. The pendulum of the hand is just the bottom end of the shoulder, and then the shoulders just will naturally sit behind the head. And in this position, you've got open sinuses because God designed the body to work and there's only one way it ever could. It's with open sinuses, all right? Open pathways between the ears, nose, and throat. But it's a position. You'll never possibly do this through any other means. Medication, supplemental things, anything like this, right? You'll never fix your sinuses not working properly. It's a position, that's it. It's just tubes you can't kink off. That's the only approach. And the only approach to physical positioning of the body is what's physically placed onto the human being. The literal word of clothing, right? So when I say clothing has to stay centered, fit correct, and be made in all the ways we can from 100% natural materials, it's not an opinion. Okay. Tops, where do tops sit? Well, this is where. Man, woman, tall, short, skinny, fat, any age, any part of the earth, any time period to ever be. You're just a human being, and we've just got bones connecting, okay? So the top seams of our shoulders, this is what I'm saying. The shoulders only ever work behind the head, but gravity, it's got the same effect on our clothing as it does on our bodies, okay? So the top seams of our shoulders, they sit just very slightly right behind the peak of the shoulder and evenly, okay? The peak of the shoulder is the other end of the collarbone from the center line of the body at the top of the sternum, okay? The collarbone or the clavicle, it comes up and out, and it's one of the 3 bones of the shoulder on its other end, okay? Shoulders only ever work behind the head. Our shoulders will follow our shoulder seams of our clothing items tops, okay? So there you go. Sinuses. Okay, the edge seams of our tops, they need to be just as close as we can to the edge of our shoulders. We've got 3 bones joining to become the shoulder, and the edge seams of our tops just need to be as close as we can and as even as we can, okay, really, right to the edge of our shoulders. That's how the body works. Joints of material meshing with joints of clothing. Wow, okay, there you go, because the bones of the body are just material. That's how I'm going to say that, because that's correct. Yeah, there you go. Yes, that's what I mean. Yes, that's cool. You know, joints of body parts meshing with joints of material of clothing. But our bodies are just material of earth, truly. Okay? Really, actually, legitimately, truthfully, and it's the truth, so don't believe me, please. Doesn't matter what I say, unless what I'm saying aligns with the truth of God. Okay? Even through the airplane noise. Yeah, okay. Dante is still here. You probably haven't seen him at all in this video, huh? He's just sleeping. All right, yeah. The 7th of April, 2026. In the Image Clothing Company's main side. Clothing's effect on the sinuses. The thing is, I mentioned it a little bit earlier in this video. I understand the airplane noise, right? I get it, but keeping collars centered and the importance of snug collars. I filmed a video down in November of 2025 in St. George, Utah. Yeah, down in November? Yeah, down in St. George, Utah from where I am here in November of 2025, titled What Neck Pain Really Is. We ask questions under In the Image Clothing Company, and then we can get to the answers if we have a real question we're asking, you know, what yawning really is, what breathing really is, you know, and then what is hydration. You know, these are video titles under In the Image Clothing Company's main side of questions we can ask, you know, some examples here. Yeah, this is what I'm saying is what neck pain really is it's just an even, the wind noise, okay, an even opposing musculature from the center line of the body's neck at its spine not being even, okay? And so uneven top seams, okay? We've got tops, shirts, coats, jackets, cardigans, the top of a dress, right? anything that is a top, a tank top, right? Stay modest, really, seriously. But don't let me tell you what to do, but God will tell you what to do. It's your choice to listen or not, though. I'd recommend listening. Okay. Tops, though, yeah, if we've got differences in our top seams, I talk about it like tops are like a cage for the shoulders. Me, Evan Strong, as the founder of In The Image Clothing Company, this is who's talking about this like this. Okay, tops, the edge seams of our tops just need to lock our shoulders in place like a cage, just being placed nicely on the edges of our shoulders. Okay, and then we've got clothing in all the ways we can possibly have it be, made from 100% natural materials, and so there's no stretch, right? And so yeah, really our shoulders should just be in a nice evenly centered position, evenly opposing the center line of our bodies at the spine, in the neck where the musculature is connecting to, the upper trapezius, okay, for example, muscles connecting from the top of the shoulder up to the base of the rear of the skull, but then also to the spine of the neck, the cervical spine. These muscles need to be evenly opposing the center line of the body's spine at the neck, okay? And then things like this too, you know, the collars of our tops being centered won't happen if we've got a collar seam. You know, a seam that's just in one part of the collar of our top, but not the rest of it. We've got an even circular nature, an even circumference, if you will, that needs to be there around. Wait, what? Literal wording? Yeah, the circumference around something is a round shape. God's course is one eternal round. There's an episode of In The Image Clothing Company podcast titled One Eternal Round. Anyway, our tops just need to be a circle, basically, you know, is how to see it. But yeah, just right around our neck. And if they're not, because there's a seam in only one location, the tops will just sit off to the side of our neck. Now look at this. Now we're pulling on the whole spine of the human being with a what we call dreaded collar seam, because our bodies dread it. That's why under In The Image Clothing Company, the free modification for this is In The Image Clothing Company's dreaded collar seam modification. The body dreads this position, okay? The importance of even shoulders. A video under In The Image Clothing Company's main site. It's actually titled exactly The Importance of Even Height Shoulders. Because this is what happens. We pivot up and in on this collarbone called clavicle. This is internal rotation from the neutral, or we pivot down and out on this collarbone called clavicle, okay? From the neutral, which is the thumb straight forward at the hand, because the hand is the shoulder. When locked out at the elbow between the two, there's only one way the human body could ever work. No opinion of mine, so don't believe me. But this is the truth. I couldn't discuss it this thoroughly and have it be an opinion, right? That's our goal under In The Image Clothing Company. Discuss things in such depth there's no possible dispute to it, because we don't have a claim that we're ever trying to have under In The Image Clothing Company. We're trying to get to the truth, even through all the surrounding sounds in our videos that are often there at this time period. Yeah, so I can wait. Don't believe me, but watch this. Okay. Here's the thing. Seriously, we can't have oversized clothing. So much so that I made a video about it, and I placed it under In The Image Clothing Company's main side. Me, Evan Strong, the founder of In The Image Clothing Company. It's titled, Oversized Clothing is Not a Choice. Because it's not. Meaning, if you want your body to work, the body's just a mechanical machine. The bones and muscles only do what they do. That's it, okay? The shape and length that they are is what they'll never cease to be once you're a full-grown adult, okay? And the body just grows how it does too. The point is, yeah, well, the point is really we can grow within patterning. You know, you're growing within imbalanced clothing. You're growing within ropes like a drawstring around the waist or shoelaces, twisting the body with one side tied over the other in an imbalance, yeah, your body will grow into an imbalance as you grow from a child to a full-grown adult. That's a point, okay? There you go. I mean, that's what I'm saying. In the Image Clothing Company, this is what we do. Allow the body to work. There's only one way it does. And yeah, oversized clothing is not a choice. If you want your body to continue to work, okay, it's not a choice, because there's a neutral to the height of the collarbone. It pivots up and internal rotation or down and external rotation. But watch gravity's effect on my clothing item, which is my top, as this happens. If I had an oversized top, it pulls your body down and you're in external rotation, basically always, and there's just a neutral, okay? It's just mechanics. There's no possible opinion to how to train the human being. It's impossible to without changing your bones shape and length, you know? I mean, surgical procedures are really basically the only way you could possibly ever change how the body works. Okay? It's just what it is for your whole life. And you only get one of them, so let's take care of it, but you don't know how to unless you know how to, and that's fine. That's why we're here under In the Image Clothing Company. That's the real reason. Okay. I don't even know what to do sometimes with the magnitude of how awesome this is. That I'm able to do this and be placed in this position. I mean it. The thing is, yeah, the sinuses, you're gonna have them be pulled on, okay? The thing with oversized clothing is, well, we've established in this video, the jaw is the shoulder. So the jaw being directly connected to the shoulder, now the jaw being able to close is determined by the height of the shoulder, pivoting up and in on the collarbone or down and out on the collarbone, up an internal rotation or down an external rotation. Just mechanics. It's always been the same. It always will. Every human being to ever live. It's nothing to do with me, Evan Strong. It's not like I have some kind of new thing here. Nope. It's just truth, okay? We just don't know it if we don't know it. But also, you don't know that your feet have to be flat on the ground for this to even happen if you don't know that. For example, one of the things, right? Yeah, but this is the point with the shoulders pulling on the jaw. The jaw needs to seal, and it does that through the tongue. We've got a lot of videos under In the Image Clothing Company talking about the jaw. A lot, okay? Under In the Image Clothing Company's main side, videos like this talking about the human being's jaw, the importance of a strong jaw, the importance of even jaw musculature, eating and drinking with the left hand, just meaning non-dominant hand, because we live in a right-handed world. We've got 85%, give or take, of human beings across the planet Earth just being right-handed. And so, yeah, we're in a right-handed patterning if we are, because there's two sides to our bodies, and there's rotations there, and there's just, you know, musculature's activation on either side of the body. And so we just need to be able to use both sides of our bodies evenly. And we've got 85%, give or take, of human beings just using basically only ever their right side for things in life. So we get into right-handed patterning. The right side gets dropped lower, externally rotated, because that's just what happens with the collarbone or clavicle going down. And it goes away from the body, okay? So, yeah. Anyway, there's a lot of videos discussing the jaw of the human being. You know, I could reference a lot more videos right now under In the Image Clothing Company's main side, but the point is the point of this video, okay? Go find our other stuff if you'd like to, because we've got a lot. You know, 500 plus videos under the main side of In the Image Clothing Company alone, as one of our fourths as of today's date, the 7th of April, 2026, okay? Like this, too, thorough, big, long, packed full of information kind of videos about the anatomy of the human body and clothing's effect on it. Okay? Oversized clothing will just pull down on the jaw because it'll pull on the shoulders. You know, a top item, it's resting on the top of our shoulders with Earth's gravity pulling down on it. And then maybe stretch, you know, again, just tens of years ago from today's date, the 7th of April, 2026 is when they started to put stretch into clothing because they invented the materials. Only then, you know, or around that time, and started to make clothing out of them. Golly. Golly, though, right? That's crazy. So the point is, yeah, just let's maybe start to wrap this video up, but there's a lot of context I could give that I'm not, you know, holding back, but you just need what you need right now. I'm going to be doing this my entire life, right? Yeah. So if we're pulling down on the shoulders, we pull down on the jaw. The jaw needs to seal, it needs to close. This happens by the tongue coming up to the roof of the mouth and having suction. We seal the throat, which is one of the three things in the sinuses. If we're talking about it like this, ears, nose, and throat, okay, we seal the throat with the tongue. You can have your throat entirely sealed with your mouth open. Okay, the tongue suctions to the roof of the mouth, but only if the shoulders can get high enough to not be pulling down on the tongue. You know, if the lower jawbone gets pulled down on because the shoulders are being pulled down on by an oversized top and just gravity's pull on it, okay, then yeah, our jaw is the location that our tongue inserts to, okay? The musculature of the tongue, it inserts to the jaw and down into the throat and down to like the back of the throat, you know, where the spine's at, really in the neck. The point is, we've got videos talking about the tongue and a lot of videos discussing eating under In The Image Clothing Company's main side. Again, I could reference multiple right now, but go find them if you can, where you can. The point is just giving context that we know what we're talking about. So don't believe us, but let's collectively get down to the truth and allow our bodies to work together. Really, actually, right? It's a permanent documentation. This beautiful video here. Yeah, oversized clothing. It's just not going to allow your jaw to come up. And then you can't seal your throat. And so you talk about post-nasal drip. Well, I'll be talking about oversized clothing pulling down on your shoulders because your body's a mechanical machine and your collarbone is dropped and your body's in external rotation if you're in an oversized top. And stretch and clothing will do the same thing, right? It'll just deactivate muscles. Stretch just going the opposite direction of the only way the muscles work, which is by pulling. It's just gonna have all this, you know, combating happening in your clothing item. And then not to mention something that I will. So I will mention what I almost didn't. The thing is, there's a videos here there's a videos title under In The Image Clothing Company's main side. It's the epidermis. That's the video's title. The epidermis. It's the skin of the body. It's an organ. We've got holes in the skin called pores, okay? And we can be poisoned through the holes in our skin by these clothing materials. Artificial, unnatural, and synthetic. These are the things, man-made things is the point. These are synonyms with fake. This is what brings stretch in clothing. Only tens of years ago from today's date, the 7th of April, 2026, is when this started happening. These things just got invented by human beings. It's poison for the body, so it can soak into the body. That's a big point with stretchy clothing or just unnatural materials in clothing, even if they don't have stretch, okay? The goal is natural on all four sides of In The Image Clothing Company. There's no opinion to it. There's not. It's truth. That everything's only natural. You alter anything to unnatural, it'll just go back to natural. It'll just decompose, but it just takes time. And we've just, you know, kind of stepped into the natural order of life. Unnaturally, in the literal wording. Yikes, okay, right? There you go. No opinion. In The Image Clothing Company. Clothing's effect on the sinuses. The 7th of April, 2026. Well, yeah, I mean, so you've got a lot of things, you know, shoulder seams on top of the shoulders, not sitting in the correct location, just evenly right behind the peak of the shoulders. The edge seams of our tops just not sitting in the correct location, which is just right as close as we can get to the edge of our shoulders, where these three bones that become the shoulder mesh, okay, the collarbone called clavicle, the scapula called shoulder blade, and the upper arm bone called the humerus. We've got potentially stretch in clothing when we need 100% natural materials in our clothing because our human body's only natural and it just has to mesh with natural things placed onto it. We're only the earth, we're only what we've eaten. Okay, tags in clothing. Removing all tags is one of In The Image Clothing Company's 2 prerequisites, in addition to just when we discuss baseline of where clothing sits on the body. Well, one of these things, yeah, removing all tags. Tags only came decades ago from today's date as well, you know, the 7th of April, 2026. you know, we had to start, well, human beings, those that did it, had to start labeling what the clothing items were made out of, because we had new, invented, man-made material. So now you've got a tag in your clothing, a label to tell you what it's made out of, where it's come from on the earth, you know, all the information it has like this. But yeah, right between the shoulder blades, the big bones on the upper back, where the motion comes from to pull the shoulders backward, and really the majority of the motion of the shoulders is coming from those shoulder blades moving on the rear of the body, because we're just pivoting on this collarbone, which is just bone to bone on either end on the front of the body. The shoulders sit behind the body though, and back there you've got a tag so often at this time period. The 7th of April 2026 is today's date. You know, I talked about how we've got this natural curve in the spine. The even mathematical opposing bends in the body from bottom to the top to stay vertical on Earth's gravity. Pole that's vertical always, right? We're just evenly opposing this pole of gravity as we travel up in the body. But if you've got a tag in the rear of your top's collar at this time period, it's so common, 2026, you know, around this time period, now you've got a gap. You change the natural curve in your spine, but it's right on your throat, really. I mean, the back of your neck is your throat, you know. We can say the front of the neck is where the larynx is, where our voice box is, and the back of the neck is where the spine is, and that's right where that tag's placed, in the rear of a collar of a top. It's just like having a leaf from a tree, literally, right? Stuck between your clothing item and your body's skin. That's a tag in modern day in clothing. The sinuses. Clothing's effect on the sinuses. The sinuses are just the tube system connecting the ears to the nose to the throat. If the position of these tubes isn't open, the sinuses will be affected or altered, changed, damaged. You know, you have a stuffy nose or a runny nose. You'll have post-nasal drip, right? If you do, things draining down your throat, mucus, okay? You'll have a dry mouth because things not being in the proper position. We've discussed some of that in this video, caused by something physically placed on your body, just altering its only workings, the literal word of clothing, okay? Clothing's effect on the sinuses. That's the point. Do you see what I'm saying? You put a tag in the rear of your collar of your top, and you just change the curve in your spine right there at the base of your neck. Now you've closed off the sinuses. That's really a beautiful thing to do. Make that sound like that right now. Maybe not audibly. Maybe you might like it. That's an individual choice. What I'm saying is, that's a beautiful visual and an audio explanation, an example of what's going on. If you place a tag in the rear of the collar of your top, you go from this neutral position, just standing vertically on Earth's gravity pole with these even mathematical opposing bends in the body from bottom to top, having open sinuses, and I can breathe, I can speak clearly, which was the point earlier, right? When I was saying that I can speak well, and then I started talking about In the Image Clothing Company music, and I said, you know, part of it, I've been given a gift from God to be able to work with words well. But I mean also another part of this that we can see is the ability for me to audibly project my voice. Not only how I can, you know, work with words, but how I have the physical ability to breathe well while I speak, to resonate the sound, to have this loud projection, and I've got a pretty boomy voice, I really do. Part of that's just my own personal voice's, you know, tone and the shape and length of the vocal cords in my larynx. But as far as a position goes of the body, that's what determines your ability to be able to fully, openly speak. That's what I'm showing here. That's why I went back, revisited what I was saying earlier in this video about my ability to speak well. As the founder of In the Image Clothing Company is the point. There's so much video documentation of me just speaking before today's date, the 7th of April, 2026, right? And going forth, I'll be doing this my entire lifetime. Truly. So this is what I'm saying, is this is a beautiful thing to see. Sinuses, they'll be closed off if your body's not in a neutral position. You put a tag in the rear of the collar of your top, and all of a sudden you start talking, instead of like this, more like this, and things sound a little bit closed off and weird because there's not this openness to the sinus pathways. You close off the pathways. You kink your throat tubes, truly. Well, even the tubes up into your nose. When we say throat tubes, that's the point. It's all connected. The ears connect to the nose connects to the throat. E-N-T, ears, nose, and throat. The sinuses, okay? This is a position. You'll never do it any other way. Get open sinuses is the point, besides allowing them to be physically in the position that they can actually open up and these tubes aren't physically closed off by what we could call bad posture. But there's no such thing as bad posture. Earth's vertical gravity pull never changes, and our bodies, even opposing mathematical bends in the shape and length of their bones, the way the skeletal system of the human being is connected never changes. Unless you have like a severe injury or something like this, then cool, that's an entirely different discussion. And that happens, but that's not even a question. If we're just talking about sinuses and nothing else really seems to have happened in your body, like injury-wise, well, it's a position, you know? There's multiple things, because clothing, you know, we're talking heels on shoes, ropes like shoelaces or drawstrings, anything twisting the body like this at all will change the position of the body, changing the position of the sinuses. Oversized tops pull down on the shoulders, pulling on the position of the sinuses. I mean, that's the point too. If I'm talking like this, just nice and clear, and I drop my shoulders, now as I talk, it doesn't sound quite the same as it does when my voice is allowed to be in a neutral position. And the thing is, the voice, I understand it's a different thing to a degree. The larynx or the voice box, it's not really the sinuses necessarily, but it's the same area of the body. It's determined by the position of the jaw. And the jaw literally is directly connected to the shoulders. And the jaw also has the musculature that's doing that going through the collars of our tops. So yeah, right? Imbalanced collars of tops, sinus problems, okay? Yeah. Anyway, anything we can mention and say, because anything in the entire body, the body works activated as a whole, like we said earlier. Anything in it that's not working properly, it'll affect things all the way up to the sinuses, because it's a position. You know, like I referenced the video, the natural head position. The natural head position is nothing you'll ever get by focusing on your head or the physical skull of the human being. You focus on your feet and your hips and your shoulders, the spine in between there, the knees in between there, the jaw, which, okay, that is the skull, that would be the direct skull, but yeah, right? You have to look at the whole body. There's no way to approach it. It's all there. The body's a connected, it's a what? Well, it's a kinetic chain. It's all connected, okay? Directly by ligaments, bone to bone, and by tendons, muscle to bone. Okay, there's only one way the human body could ever work. So when it comes to sinuses, yeah, I mean, you've got, you know, all sorts of things. You could try to spray in your nose. You could try to drink an excessive amount of water. That'll only cause your sinuses to drip and run more. Or whatever it causes them to do exactly, is just going to be an imbalance. Hydration is a separate thing, really. I mean, than trying to focus on the sinuses. The sinuses are about a position for just open pathways of these tubes from the ears, nose, to the throat. Hydration lubricates the mucus that's within the sinuses, but also hydration, there's only a normal amount. Too much water is very damaging, you know, when we get to quite an excessive amount, and too little water can be very damaging when we get to a very excessive amount. Hydration is the in-between amount of the proper amount of water. It's not more water in the body. Maybe less water will allow you to be better hydrated, or even more hydrated, if we could word it like that, seen with context, by having less water in your body than you might currently do. If you have too much, then you might be more hydrated. We'd really probably say more properly hydrated, more accurately hydrated, right? But just to see that hydration is not only on one end, it's on either end, it's in the middle. So yeah, anyway, these are a lot of things that are affecting the sinuses, but the point is, truly, all of these things are directly affected by clothing. The body's a physical thing. I mean, there's no sales pitch here. This is just an explanation of what's happening, regardless of if we were ever going to sell clothing as in the Image Clothing Company or not. This is just our discussions of things. I mean, we could be an entirely different labeled company. We could be a company that's like, you know, like a doctor. And we could just be sitting here discussing your clothing to allow your body to work, because that's how it happens. You know, things like keeping short sleeves short and the importance of even short sleeves. 2 video titles under In the Image Clothing Company's main site here, but just focuses in daily life. You know, when we talk about where clothing sits, which I did in this video, that's just baseline. But we get into anything, you know, in depth with things is what I mean. Anything you could possibly talk about, because we've just got joints that can't be altered by something in their way. Clothing's just literal wording of anything placed onto the body of the human being when it comes to human being clothing, right? So anyway, the other one, sorry for yelling, not for the sake of me yelling, but that might have been pretty excessively loud compared to how I was speaking before, and it might have been shocking. That's why I'm gonna yell however loud I want, but you know, I don't mean to hurt people's ears is what I really mean. But what I'm saying here is, yeah, our second prerequisite, in addition to removing all tags from clothing under In the Image Clothing Company, just to not alter the body, you know, that's what I mean. There's a lot of things we could talk about, but these are the 2 big things that are just, you know, what we discuss a lot. We talked about the bottom of the feet, right? 0 drop, determine any brand of shoe, just like being barefooted. The feet only work barefooted, right? A video I filmed in November of 2025 in beautiful St. George, Utah, and placed it under In the Image Clothing Company's main site because I'm the founder. My name is Evan Strong. The top of the feet's half their function. Okay, we point the feet down, plantar flexion, but then we lift the toes up, dorsiflexion. And it's this opposing motion as we walk. That's how we walk. With our 5 different length toes, we roll evenly off the ends of, just to share the weight, because that's how God designed the human being to work. But if you're within patterning, you might not be doing that. As I didn't either until I was about 24 years old. Okay, I get it. A couple years ago, give or take from today's date, the 7th of April, 2026. Okay. But now I'm the founder of In the Image Clothing Company, and even though I was doing all of the things that we discussed not doing under In the Image Clothing Company before I founded it, you know, these things apply to every body. It's literal wording, right? All the human beings in the universal human design. Every body has one. Everyone has a body. But yeah, lifting the toes up, this is dorsiflexion. It's determined by the top of the shoe. The upper of the shoe, which the shape of that's determined by the ropes we weave across the top of the feet, right? We call them shoelaces. We're just weaving ropes across the top of our feet, even through the airplane noise. Oh my goodness. Oh, it's one of those like dung beetle, stink bugs. I thought it was like, I don't know. I didn't know what it was. It's like this big, and I didn't know what it was at first. Caught my attention. There's a truck. There's a truck behind me. You guys probably wondering why I'm just talking at a wall of dirt. There's a camera here. That's why. Just to permanently document truth for all the human beings to ever come after me. Don't come after me, but, right, I mean generational after me in chronological order. And even those that came before, if they were here to hear this information, here to hear, God says, he who has ears to hear, let him hear. You know, just the information of truth. It's like, yeah, you give it, you know, publicly, freely. And there you go. Anyone who will accept it, that's the point. Yeah, the top of the feet, in the Image Clothing Company shoelace technique, it's just that we've got bones, ligaments, tendons, and muscles in the feet that are gripping these arches inward, and they keep us vertical. They're our foundation. You know, if we alter our foundation at our feet, the rest of the body will be altered. You know, episode 100 of In the Image Clothing Company podcast is titled Laying a Foundation. Now we're on episode 204, as of today's date, the 7th of April, 2026. Anyway, so we talk about a lot of things, you know, small things, like the tongue tabs that could be in shoes, holding the shoe tongue in place when we need to have our natural motion on our feet. You know, yeah, In the Image Clothing Company's rotated seam modification is a huge thing. Anywhere that could possibly be rotations in the seams of our clothing. There's just a lot of seams that are being rotated because of the way that things are stitched nowadays, really, from robots. Truly, actually, I mean, really, yeah. Just the type of stitch they choose to use, that's what I'm saying. It twists the body. And your clothing is sitting on your body twisted, and so your body can't stay centered. It's just how it is, you know. Well, things like this, that's what I mean. You've got rotated seams in clothing. You've got a motorcycle that you just drive on the highway, which is fine, but it's making noise, you know. That's fine. I could film these videos anywhere, I get it. But what I'm saying is, yeah, if you've got rotation in the seams of your clothing, it's a loud bike, man. It's far away now compared to where it was, and it's still noisy. But yeah, that'll just affect the position of the physical tubes that are your sinuses, and as a human being. Okay, that's the point. Rotated seams in clothing, but anything from the feet up to the tip of the head, the jaw's in between there stabilizing, the lungs are in between there breathing, always, if you're alive. Breath is the essence of human life. It's the thing we can go the least amount of time without before we die. Things like the importance of the same size hands. You know, things like fingernails and toenails. We need fingernails and toenails fully to the tips of our fingers and toes to back and support them. Okay, cut relatively flat on the tips so we can stay in the neutral position of the hand, arches, and the feet, arches, and the neutral wrist, and the ankle. You know, we've got a neutral to the body. How clothing affects the sinuses? Well, clothing's effect on the sinuses is a lot of these things I've mentioned in this video. There's more I could be saying about it right now, but that's good, you know, to give you a really good understanding of what's going on. I talked about where clothing sits baseline, you know, from shoes and then to tops and pants, removing all tags, in the Image Clothing Company's shoelace technique. I choked. The sinuses, seriously, you know. Yeah, that's what I mean, is if you've got different sized hands, you're pulling on your shoulder. The hand is the shoulder. You know, if you're lacking the rounding to your hands, and this can be coming from the arches in your feet, you're dropping your shoulders. The hand is the shoulder, and the point is, the shoulder is the jaw. The jaw is the sinuses. There's only one way the human body could ever work. We get into it in depth. I mean, I'm talking such depth you couldn't possibly dispute. That's the point. Under In the Image Clothing Company. Yeah, we know what we're talking about. On the things we discuss, or we wouldn't be discussing them, really. Not really, right? I mean, really. Not really. Really, though, that's how we do things. Wow, yeah. Holy cow. All right, that's good. Thank you. Goodbye.